Right.
Back on U.S. soil together again. Chaz Smith, it is the grit. It is April 19th.
How much a better man do you feel, David Lee Scales, having foraged off into far-flung lands in order to experience adventure?
I'm glad you asked that. That is the exact way that I feel. I feel much better. Um, the adventure element for sure, but it's also just a reset of like an active lifestyle. I'm
Yep.
I'm so sedentary when I'm at home and on a work schedule. So going out and surfing 3 sessions a day, 2 hour sessions, also eating 3 meals a day with no snacking in between. When you're at a resort like that and the meals are regimented and you don't have a refrigerator that you can just go and, graze off of, it's a better way of life.
I mean, I'll tell you what, I think the inertia, no pun intended, of sitting around doing nothing is grows, of course, greater the older you get. And so, the motivation to go do something gets more I'm just gonna stay home where I'm comfortable. But man, when you break that seal, ooh, feels good.
Truly does. And I was actually worried about it leading into the trip that I wouldn't be in surf shape, you know? Because even at home, if I'm on a surf routine, I'm only surfing 45 minutes, maybe an hour, and I'm really taking it pretty easy. I'm surfing kind of the same spots over and over. So I was like, man, I'm really probably, biting off more than I could chew. Turns out it's like riding a bike. Yeah, right. Like I honestly, I mean, I was tired, but I was still able to catch my quota, which is 3 set waves in a given session, and stay in position, not let the current sweep me down the beach, that sort of stuff.
I was marveling watching while you were busy surfing, I was busy watching the Margaret River Pro. And they have you ever been to Margaret River?
Never been to Western Oz.
That wave breaks so far out to sea. It literally is like breaking in the middle of the ocean. You can barely even see the white water from land. But in any case, I think the surfers get jet ski assist out into the lineup,
Mm.
but they do not get any assists once out in the lineup. There's no towing them back. And I was watching them paddle and knowing how, they're paddling like, I don't know what their Apple Watches don't record, but it's probably miles worth of paddling. And I was thinking about how everybody just looks basically, nobody's like, looks like a marathon runner. Nobody
Yeah.
looks like crazy. Everybody's, all kinds of bodies, which made me think surfing, in some magical way, is not any form of physical fitness at all. Like, to your point, is you can get off the couch, and get back into quote unquote surf shape within 2 days. Anything, it'd be like going out and, not, taking like 4 years off running, going out, running a marathon, feeling like, I'm tired, but I'm going to go do it again tomorrow, and I'm going to feel better tomorrow. What kind of activity, like, i.e., surfing is not even, it's not only not a sport, surfing is not a physical activity somehow.
It might be true, honestly. And then people who are new to it, they do get physically completely
You
exhausted.
get
But I
gassed.
I would argue that is more mental exhaustion than it is physical exhaustion now that we've had this discussion, because they're just freaked out by the ocean in general. They're freaked
Sure.
out by the idea of sharks, and all of that is draining them, and they panic.
Yeah.
And so then the panic, they come in exhausted, but the really how much energy did they expend by going like this with their arms?
Yeah.
Not that much.
Not that much.
You're
I mean,
laying down the entire time.
like, I wonder on a real scale if surfing is very similar to like darts in terms of the effort
Energy,
given. Yeah, the
the
energy spent.
calories burned. Well, the funny thing is, you literally are laying down the entire time.
Or
The
sitting. You're either laying or
or
sitting.
sitting, or sitting, and then the few moments where you're up and riding. If anybody's ever surfed a 1 minute long wave, which is a rarity, they will complain about that for the rest of their lives. They'll be like,
Yep.
"My legs are burning so bad."
Oh, I
It's
couldn't
like
even do that last turn.
you were doing the activity for literally 1 minute.
Yeah.
I've seen people do pull-ups for more than 1 minute. You know what
Yep.
I mean? Like
Yep.
it's crazy.
And
It
let's
is
also be honest, none of your turns were like full effort. I mean,
no.
you're not John Florence. You're not like throwing buckets of spray out the back. You are guiding your surfboard gently up and then following its trajectory back down.
The surfboard's doing all the work. You're just standing on
You're
it.
standing. You're long for the ride, man.
Well, wow, we really unpacked or uncovered a real hidden truth in
Yep.
surfing.
It's
We were
not a
all
physical.
hiding, we were all hiding behind the idea of like it being barbarian and conquering Mother Nature and all
Yep.
that kind of stuff, and it
Nope.
really isn't.
It's not at all. It's like especially how warm was the water down El Salvador way?
80.
Yeah, exactly. If the once the water, I mean, I could see you burning a few calories up there, dead winter Ocean Beach, just paddling your head in free. Even then, somehow it's not a because the fact that like 60-year-old men do that regularly and get out in the lineup, no problem at OB or places like that. It's like, yeah, if old people can do it just by staying sort of in the mindset of doing it, is it really that hard? Let's be honest.
Old people can do it because they've come to the truth that we just revealed on their own. And
Yes,
so they actually do, you'll notice the most experienced surfers duck dive way less, eat crap way less, like find themselves in problematic situations way less. It's because they've just accepted the fact that this isn't hard. All I'm doing is laying down and sitting. So, and I'm not scared anymore. So I'm going to go that way instead of into the impact zone.
completely, completely. Well, wow. I hope our dear listeners are the beneficiaries of this knowledge, but they should also keep it from their loved one because you need it as
Yeah.
the, oh, no, no, I'm going out. Hey, babe, I gotta go get a quick surf. This is my fitness. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not, but
The most calories I burned was because the water was 80 degrees and I was sweltering.
yep.
It's like hot yoga, basically.
But did your Florence hooded surf shirt protect you?
Glad you brought that up too. So I've got lots of feedback on surf fashion that we're going to get into in a moment, but I want to note that the conversation that came up organically between us right now is the theme of today's show. Every
Great.
topic that I've kind of came up in surf news this past week can all be tied together by a unifying theme, which is longevity in surfing, how to surf into your old age, and then in relation to Kelly, when how to know when to quit.
Great. Here for it.
When is enough enough?
I'm here for it.
All right, so let's tie it all together into a bow. We were talking about John Florence popularizing the hooded rash guard last week, and then the idea of surf leggings for males came up. Lots
Liked
of
it. I still liked it, even though people tried to poo-poo it. I don't get as much feedback from you or as you, but people tried to poo-poo surf leggings to me. They
okay.
said, no,
Look, I'm going to read you some feedback of people who actually agree that it's a great idea.
great.
And the reason this came up, I want to note, we had a surfer on the trip who was wearing leggings, and he was very unassuming looking. You might even say wouldn't even identify him as a surfer when he showed up on the trip, just totally nondescript, right? And he revealed to me before we surfed that he was going to be wearing leggings. And he's like, dude, I admit it looks so kooky. Like I know people are going to make fun of it, but I want to go home without any sun exposure. That is my goal. I've had some stuff zapped out from the dermatologist. Well, come to find out, the guy absolutely shredded. Like he was ripping every single session, current style, like really formed out, great fundamentals. So, anyways, that was how this all came up. Here comes an email from a listener who said, hello and thanks, DLS and Chaz and the others for the podcast. I look forward to each publication. In the last episode, you discussed new fashions for surfing, referring to the story of the El Salvadorian companion wearing surf leggings. I have been wearing surf leggings for about 10 years while surfing, kayaking, sailing, and diving. I started doing this because the dermatologist over the years had cut out several types of skin cancers and lots of freezing of the small ones. She said if I wanted to continue surfing, I had to cover up. Of course, she said we were all dealing with the sins of the past, not covering up. So the coverage offers several benefits: sun protection, sea creature protection, like the jellyfish that are common here, and protection from bruises, bangs, etc. I'm almost 74 years old with fair and thinning skin. I try to surf every day here on the Gulf Coast around Corpus Christi, Texas. Here are a few photos of myself. Note the attire, the leggings. I also wear board shorts over the outside of the leggings for modesty because the leggings show all of the parts. Rash guard, surf shades, and an intense or surf shade when the sun is intense. And also, I wear a hat. I do daily morning stretches, surfing average of 1.5 hours, average wave count of 12, try to paddle around 2 miles per session. I garden, bike ride, healthy food with moderate intake, and moderate and afternoon yoga slash strength sessions. I have fun, I'm social, low stress, repeat. Retired at 71 as a college professor. Yes, you can surf through life. You do have to put in some time to stay in shape and deal with the body slash health issues intelligently, but I plan to surf to 100. I was thinking of sending this topic previously for your advice in tools to live by, with the main question being, should I keep doing this if it requires me looking like a kook? Stoked to be surfing at any level at my age. Enjoy the day. Keep up the work. Buddy McDowell, lifelong surfer.
Buddy McDowell has the name for that email. That is just when it all gets tied together at the end like that perfectly, then yeah, cheers, Buddy McDowell. I was thinking as you're reading that I am sure every single thing he mentioned in that missive has been a nah in a barrel or nah, and then realize stacked together what you get is a stinking rebel. Buddy is a rebel, which is the best part of surfing from the get is rebellion. So Buddy seems about as punk rock today as Chris Ward was 25 years ago.
I mean, surfing in Corpus Christi, first of all.
Yeah, A. B, like, I mean, throwing on trunks over the leggings is boss right there. I mean, you are like, I mean, going that far into the lifestyle, man, buddy, I tip my cap.
It verges on current.
I mean, like we've talked about this before. Everything is a circle, right? People think that fashion or style or personal sensibility or whatever is a straight line, but no, everything arcs back. So you go kooky enough, you're right back to current. I mean, that was the essential, right? Look at, I mean, bodybuilders, let's be honest. You get so masculine that you turn into a weird woman, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and even see Bruce Jenner. You get to be the so peak masculine that you literally become a woman, right? Everything is a circle. Buddy has gone. It's where you go wrong is when you like stop 3/4 of the way. You got to
Yeah.
keep pushing through all the way to be current again.
And the full embrace. Like, him asking the question of, should I stop if it looks kooky?
He's not asking. He's telling
He,
us.
he exactly. He was posing it as a question just so he could engage, I think. But
Yep.
the reality is, like you've stated multiple times, is whatever the attire is or the accessory is, if you own it, it works.
Completely. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel Buddy was here as a nice salve for our listeners against us in terms of, hey, these guys are great, man. You know, listen to them. Take their advice, you know, if you want. I'm just here saying 75, 74, ripping, gonna rip till 100. This is how I look. Pulling
Well,
babes.
it's funny that you identified that all those things were probably Nas and Barrel or Nah previously, because an email came through with a guy going, "Hey, you probably forget, but we addressed this 2 years ago." And he sent me his original email. Apparently, we had hooded rash guards as a Barrel or Nah in 2022.
And was a big
And
nah, probably.
it was a big nah. And
Yeah.
then his email went on to say, fully disagree with you guys. And here's what's more, I wear surf leggings, and
Boom. See,
and gave all the reasons why. So I I don't even think I replied to his email back in the day, but he sent it. He dug it up and sent it, and he's entirely right. We're coming around to it.
here's the thing though. So maybe, dear listener, we were late on the hooded surf shirt, but dang it, we're early, I feel, on the surf leggings, or at least on the, you know, of course. And just like at the World Surf League, when they give honor to the whatever people for whose land they're on, whatever the recognition, which is so valuable. Thank you for doing that, World Surf League. I recognize all those wearing surf leggings right now. I don't think that
Totally.
I'm the first or that we're the first to bring this up. We recognize you are here, surf legging wearer. We are just joining along, maybe a little late, but earlier than a lot.
surf culture is a community. It's an indigenous community. And you're right. We are identifying those who came before us. They were the
Yes.
earliest adopters, but we are at least acknowledging and kind of getting ahead of the main trend that is
Yep.
going to come along
Thank you for your
before.
service, buddy. I mean, thank you for
Absolutely.
I acknowledge you, buddy. I uh acknowledge you. I think that's all that happens, right? They never give money. You just acknowledge, right?
Acknowledge.
You never give anything of value to the World Surf League's not doing anything for any indigenous person except for acknowledgement. Yeah.
And by acknowledgement, when I pull my pants on to go to work today, I will do it in honor of Buddy. Um, I'll wear the tightest ones that I can find. Um, so another listener just sent in a suggestion of what we could be on the cutting edge of:
Mm,
webbed gloves coming back.
yeah.
Like he's like, look, you guys might be right with surf leggings being Florence Marine X's next kind of trend that they spark. But what about the webbed glove?
Okay, and I feel we must have discussed the web glove. I mean, for sure we've discussed it, but the thing with the webbed glove, you've tried a webbed glove, right? Back in the day?
Dude, when I was a kid, I mean, before surfing, when I was getting into bodyboarding,
Yeah,
that was like, I
webs.
remember doing chores around the house to save up to buy apes.
And it makes all the sense in the world. Nothing makes more sense, literally. Nothing makes more sense in surfing than a web glove. It makes a lot more sense than a fin, if a surfboard fin. If you're thinking about the fin, of course, like when you start thinking, okay, yeah, I guess without a fin, I guess my board will slide and whatever. Like, but how is a quad versus a thruster versus a twin fin setup? What's it really doing, right? Do you know? I don't know. I mean, I know that a quad is faster, I guess, but also because I've been told that, right? Do you really feel when you're on your quad versus your thruster, are you feeling it? Are you like, yeah, man, I'm a quad right now, fast?
No, no.
Exactly. All to say, all that stuff makes sense. A wetsuit, conceptually, a wetsuit. So here's the scientist saying, hey, man, I'm going to have you put this black thing on. Water is going to get in there and you're going to be warm. And I'm like, but why don't I want to be dry? I mean, theoretically. And of course, all of the science makes sense, but webs make sense out of the gate. I think, oh, I have these spaces between my fingers. My hand is this shape. If I make my hand twice as big, I'll go twice as fast. Nobody, but nobody needs like a real explanation of what's happening there. And yet somehow I feel it is bad science. How's that?
How is it bad science?
I
When
think
was it? I think it was just not fashionable.
I know I don't think it worked. If it worked, people in surfing do all kinds of things function over fashion, all kind every day. If it provided 1 millisecond of edge in the water, the WSL guys would be wearing them like it's going out of style. Like you see them paddle battling out there where, especially at Margaret and stuff, where one guy will kick out. I mean, I think it was JJF versus Medina yesterday. I don't know if they got in a big one, but they're like scrapping out in the lineup, right? If one if those webs provided or apes provided a 1 second of edge, somebody'd throw those on. They don't care about fashion.
I think they do both. I think they do provide 1 second of advantage, and I do think they do care about fashion. I
Is
think,
that true though?
I
I mean,
mean,
we have
we need to
science
figure,
listeners.
yeah. I mean, I don't understand how it couldn't. The argument I've heard against them is that it actually causes shoulder injuries.
Yes.
The amount of resistance created actually, yeah, for older people, I guess.
Except
Uh,
except do you ever frequent lap swimming pools?
no, of course not.
I mean, I wish there was one closer. I love swimming laps is one of life's greatest pleasures. But people will train with apes or uh, webs or whatever the other versions are as a training to build your arm muscles or shoulder muscles, I presume. So yeah, but I don't think they're like flying through the water. That's what I wonder. Does it actually make you go faster, or does it just provide more resistance? Right?
Yeah. Well, we will find out because a scientific listener will chime in to let us know because I'm sure this has been studied thoroughly. Um,
If it does make you go faster, we are legit making grit webs. I'm gonna go find manufacturing in China, the People's Paradisical Republic of China, and we are going to be making grit webs immediately.
Well, again, it's just like we said with the hooded rash guard. It's just a matter of getting somebody super cool to validate them.
I mean, maybe we can get Miggy Pupo to validate them.
Miggy's
He's,
off tour.
yeah, he's got some time on his hands now, I feel.
Okay. Is he cool enough to validate them?
For sure. I mean, I think as Buddy noted, like sometimes being uncool is the coolest thing of all.
Yeah. Well, following up previous conversations and also a science conversation, 2 weeks ago when we were talking about sparkling water, we were confused as to whether or not it could be naturally
Yes,
occurring.
good. I'm still confused.
There are, quote, soda springs that have
I
naturally
knew it.
carbonated water.
I knew it. I'll tell you this, the podcast is like Christmas morning because like I really have these curiosities. I really was curious about this. I forgot that I was curious about it after we got done talking. So I don't go look up the information. I'm like, wow, it'd be all of this information would be at our fingertips. It's so much better when it comes from listeners. When you wait
Yeah,
for it and then the answer comes. But
totally.
explain the soda spring.
So I didn't actually look into it any further than just getting the confirmation. And I can't find, I'm trying to pull it up right now to see if I can read the exact text, but I can't find it. All I know is when we were in El Salvador, three people were sitting around the table with me, and they're like, there's no, and a couple of them work in the science field.
Yeah.
And they're like, there's just no way. They're like, I haven't looked into it, but I just can't imagine like a way that that actually happens naturally.
Yeah.
And I know the bottle says naturally
Natural.
carbonated, bottled
Yeah.
at the source. And they go,
Yes.
yeah, it's probably bottled at the source, and then it's carbonated some natural way at the source, but it's not coming out of the ground carbonated,
Bubbly.
you know?
Yes.
And I'm like, all right, yeah, you probably got me right there. Well, they text me 3 days later and go, hey, I looked into it. I stand corrected. There are naturally occurring, quote, soda springs in the world.
Where do
I don't know what the science is behind it, though.
we gotta find one, and then we need to make them a podcast sponsor. I want a naturally occurring bubbly water on the show.
I agree. Well, I've been on a mission this week to test some of the recommended sparkling waters that listeners have sent in. Last night I did San Bernardo.
Okay, I like San Bernardo. Yep.
It's all right. Like it
It
was
ain't
just
the
very,
best.
very lightly carbonated.
That's the thing. I mean, which I wonder if Topo Chico solved it with their you need forever chemicals to make
Yeah,
those bubbles really pop.
maybe.
I mean, sorry, there's like, it's not everything you do is good for you. Steak gives you heart attacks, but you still eat steak, don't you?
Ate one last night.
Yeah.
And I earlier in the week did Gerolsteiner, which came highly recommended. And I got to agree, that is at the top of my list right now.
Gerolsteiner.
German.
I feel Gerolsteiner is a real Trader Joe's product, is it not? Is Gerolstein really featured in TJ's?
They do carry it, but it is available elsewhere. It's not unique to TJ's.
Okay. It's funny how a TJ exclusive product should make me real happy about that product, but usually I write it off in the same way I write off Kirkland products, even though I know that they're like that Kirkland products are like best in class, right? I mean,
Yeah,
everybody knows that secret. They're taking the best stuff, basically, or oftentimes the best stuff, and just relabeling it Kirkland
yeah,
and selling it at scale. Uh, TJ's, there's smart people who work at Trader Joe's who like study the best stuff and whatever for the price point or whatever and get it into the store. But if I see something is exclusively TJ's, I'm like,
yeah.
that's not cool, man.
Well, it's not exclusive to, and it is very good. And it's funny, it actually tastes German somehow.
I mean, of course,
Like
listen to its name.
it tastes like precise, and you like I don't know, it's just clean, it's neat, it's very precise, it's but I like it a lot. It's my current front runner. The problem is it's in a 750 milliliter bottle, I think, maybe 500 milliliters.
Tough size, tough size.
So the Topo Chico, it's a normal 12-ounce bottle. You can finish
Pop
one.
it, drink it,
That's
done.
all you need. Yeah, and that's
Yep.
all you need. You don't need 16 ounces even.
Yeah.
This, it's like it's a 2-day thing, and the
Goes
bubbles
flat.
go flat after day one.
It's so true though. I'm glad you hit upon because this is exactly true that bubbly water it's water with bubbles in it, but it does capture the essence of both place or
It
uh
does.
like better than wine, better than anything. Like for example, La Croix tastes trendy. Like you knew from that first, even the LaCroix flat, like, or just their regular sparkling unflavored water, you
Right.
take a sip of that and you think, oh, this comes from nowhere. It tastes like a trend. It
Yeah.
tastes like they
It
named it
was
French
it was
and it's
made in a
fake.
boardroom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's made in a boardroom. This is a
Yeah.
boardroom bubbly water.
Yeah.
Exactly. You don't get confused with when you drink a Perrier. I always think Perrier tastes French Canadian. I know it's not, but I got to get that out of my head that it tastes French Canadian.
San Pellegrino tastes Italian. Topo Chico tastes Mexican.
Yep.
It's really
Gerolsteiner.
weird, right?
Yep. Gerolsteiner tastes German. Is there a British bubbly water? There's
There's
got to
got to
be.
be. For
Yeah.
sure there is. Yeah. But that's the thing. It's not as if like the Topo Chico doesn't taste like masa,
Yeah.
and the German one doesn't taste like Wiener Schnitzel.
No.
It's more in the texture and the amount of carbonation maybe
I
that
think it
represents the country's culture.
I think it's the balance between mineral, bubble, and the you know how waters like you can go obviously waters are different. Water is not water. Waters are different. But so whatever that water is plus mineral content plus bubble equals culture better than any other gauge.
Better than the cars produced by that country, better than the food, better than the wine.
Anything. It is
It
more
better than the
representative.
music. It
Yep.
really is. It is so precise. And it is, but it's also more subtle.
Yeah. Oh, you have to develop. I mean, you have to develop your tongue in order to get those. You can't be burning your tongue out. You can't be out smoking cigars and then
No.
come in and, you could do that with like a brandy, right?
Yeah.
Everybody does smoke cigar with brandy. That's a fine liquor even, not a liqueur, but yeah, you can't be messing around with that when you're like at the height of your bubbly water game.
No. Well, Gerolsteiner is my front runner. I'm sticking with it this week. Send in your suggestions. I'm out there. Every grocery store I go to now, I do a lap just to see what they've got in the sparkling water aisle. And
Where do you land on your lightly flavored, your lightly essenced?
um, it's a downgrade from the non-flavored, but I still like it.
Yeah. I mean, like I've been boozing less and less and less, and replacing booze, I've realized with lightly flavored bubbly waters, where Waterloo, for some reason, is my front runner right now.
I haven't had it. I've seen it, but I've never had it.
Yeah.
But it's only in a can, right?
Yeah, come in can, but a can is pretty good.
Can's better than I thought, than I gave it credit for, but
A
glass
can is
bottle.
a can is good when it's a replacement for a when you're using it as a replacement for an alcoholic beverage
Yeah.
because you pop it, it's got the ritual,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
popping the can, all of that, like the real just small subtleties.
Yeah. Are you going full break from booze or just cutting way
No,
back?
I went for a Lenten fast from booze, if you can believe it. So it
Is
was
that
a
40 days?
40-ish days. It's 40-ish days. But the Catholics are smart. You're allowed to rip one on Sunday. Sunday's a feast day, so you're to break your fast, once a week. And so I didn't the first week. I went like 2 straight weeks and then would drink one day a week. So I don't know how, but yeah, it was like 40 days of like 4 times drinking or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel better?
That's the trouble. I'll tell you. I said no, 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 no. People would ask who knew. Wife would ask. Like I kept it quiet. I didn't want to be out there. Then tell you this: the only thing worse than the full alcoholic in public, the sloppy, messy drunk, is the person whose thing is not drinking. They are way worse than a bad sober is worse than a bad drunk, right?
Lauren's going to a work event tonight and she's like, God, I got to hang out with so and so. And all he's going to do is tell me about him not drinking.
And that's the thing I'm going to tell you, and this is a PSA, sober person, you go be sober. Live your sober life. Sober life is great. Of course, science supports you, culture supports you. It is better in every single way, except you are an annoying thumb in everyone's eye. And so, sober person, unless you have like a real massive problem with alcohol where like one sip will kick you into full blown disease again, like you stay sober, that dude. Everybody else is doing it as a lifestyle. You go to that stinking party and you get a stinking drink and you stand there with your alcoholic drink and you sip on it and you be normal. You be normal. You shut your mouth. That one alcoholic drink is not going to do anything to you. It's not going to, unless it is, if it is, again, stay off it. But if you're doing it just as your thing, drink at the stinking party.
Um, Again, remember I said the theme of the show is how to surf into old age?
Yeah,
The alcohol
not
intake
drinking.
relates to all of this.
I'll tell you, I did. So I did say always. I would say, I don't feel any different. Don't sleep any better. It's the same. I got to the end, and I was like, oh dang it, oh dang it, I feel better,
You
and I
do.
sleep better, and my life. I'm more creative. I'm doing more work. I'm just doing better. It's a bummer. It's a bummer when you have to admit to yourself that a boozeless life is better, but friggin' drink at a party.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. What I've noticed personally is that there's a cumulative buildup of
Yep.
alcohol. Like when I go periods of time without drinking, it takes a while for that cumulative buildup to wear out of my system, like up to 7 days, let's say. So the
I
first
think
seven
longer.
days, well, it depends, I guess, how much is built up in your body. But, and again, this isn't science, this is just my own kind of assessment of my own intake, but it's almost as if those 7 days you're going through withdrawal symptoms. It's like, oh my, I still want the drink, or now I'm feeling crappy because I'm not giving it the drink or whatever the thing is. And so it takes a while to get that out of your system. And then once all of it kind of purges from your system on day 7 or whatever the day is, you're like, oh man, clarity. I feel better. I don't feel a draw to the thing. And it just takes a while to wear
But
out, I
but
guess.
I do feel that it also like it took me, I wasn't trying to be a jerk about, I just didn't think that I felt better. Like it takes your body, I think, a while to even realize that it does feel better. Like it took me, I
Exactly.
think,
Yeah.
almost all of the 40 days of like
Yeah.
getting through and thinking, I was not lying and saying I wasn't feeling better. I just didn't, but actually did. It just took a while for my brain to process. You feel different.
Yeah. Crazy. Well, good. Good for you. Sparkling water then.
Yeah.
Replacement behavior. Factormeals.com/surf50. Let me tell you, Factor Meals has filled a specific gap in our lives that has simplified our busy schedules and satisfied and nourished us. If you follow me on social media, you know that I love to cook. My wife and I love food and wine, but there are still at least 5 meals a week where we're just underprepared, short on time, and don't want to make a bad dietary decision nor sacrifice the pleasure that we get out of dining. Factor has solved it. Chef prepared meals that are delivered to your house weekly. They take 2 minutes to heat up and they're designed to be eaten anywhere. There's no prep, no cooking, and you can recycle the package that it comes in. Delicious meals that are good for you with over 35 options to choose from each week. Go to factormeals.com/surf50. Less expensive than dining out, more delicious, more nutritious. Factormeals.com/surf50. Perfect segue to knowing when to quit. Kelly Slater. Is it weird that all of Kelly's closest friends are sending him off with retirement speeches and dedications when he has not retired nor made a retirement speech? In fact, when he got lost in his mid-year cut in his post-heat interview, losers interview, he said,
I'm
I'll be
surfing.
back. I'll be back to surf against Griffin in a wild card event. And David Scales, will bet money it's going to be the very next event. He's going
I
to be
mean,
back in Tahiti.
he's obviously, he said he was surfing snapper. He's not only is he
He's
staying
going
on
to the
tour, he's
QS.
jumping to the QS. Like, I mean, okay, so I've been thinking about this all week. It is crazy to me because even so you watch, I mean, of course, even our dear friend, like people who I wouldn't think were gonna get in on the let's hoist Kelly up on our shoulders and dance around with him. Like Devin Howard stinking posted a Kelly, like a heartfelt, to you, Kelly, for everything you've done, man, for where you've taken this. That was like anybody who follows any surfer on Instagram who's a surfer of note, chances are that person posted a like Kelly died kind of with a real thoughtful, meaningful. They've been saving this up. They really, everything from personal anecdotes of, what Kelly did to me at some point in my life to overall appreciation of everything. You're exactly right. A wash. Social media, a wash. Uh, Even mainstream media, I think got like thought, oh, like the first day after there was Kelly retires. Now, if you go look, like CNN has as their headline, Kelly Slater hints at possible retirement. Is that is the mainstream news main headline, which is exactly what he did. He didn't say he hinted at this may be like the end of the road, right? Like I got cut from tour, even though I know they'll give me as many wild cards as I want. That is what kind of retirement is that? What kind of retirement is I'm out until next week, and then I'll be back at Fiji, but then or Tahiti, but for sure I'm also going to go to Cloud Break. And then so yeah, and so then I'll see you next year at Pipe because I'm going to do that one too. Probably won't do Sunset. It's exactly what Kelly does already. Like Kelly takes off the events he doesn't want to go to. The only difference now is he doesn't need to make an excuse, which he still will.
Yeah. Well, I'm baffled. So he did not retire, and I'm
Nope.
baffled just by the fact that everybody is foisting retirement upon him, which, by the way, isn't their misunderstanding. I think we are all fully recognizing, and his closest friends are
It's time
encouraging,
to go.
like, hey,
This was
dude,
it.
Kalani is waiting for you to retire with baby coming. Like she is, welcoming you with open arms into this next phase. You need to make a retirement announcement. You've been beaten off tour. Like there's no reason for you to linger around here anymore. Everybody is showing you the door. Please make a graceful exit.
Watching,
The grace, by the way, the graceful exit was 5 years ago.
yeah.
You opted away from that one. We are giving you your last shot now. Please read all of our posts and exit gracefully. Just make a comment on Instagram that you're retiring. Acknowledge it. You can still come back and do the wildcard thing, but you need to acknowledge that it's
I'll
a new phase of life now.
I will tell you that like there's something very silly about watching him in a singlet bobbing in the ocean next to Griffin Colapinto. Like we can take surfing. I mean, it's hard for me to take surfing seriously ever. But you can kind of get into if you're really going to force yourself to get into a good WCT, you know, heat, like, okay, these guys are really battling it out, whatever. It feels like you can kind of trick yourself that it's an actual sport. When Kelly is bobbing next to Griffin Colapinto in his weird swim shirt, the kind that children wear at pools, right? I mean, that's essentially what the singlet is. It's just weird. It's like, man, you were like, it's like you're a full grown adult sitting in a sandbox with a bunch of 4-year-olds taking sandcastles seriously. Like, it's cool for them. It's cool when two 4-year-olds really have a sandcastle off. Uh,
Yeah.
when you're there doing it, old man, it's weird. It just looks weird. Everybody wants that weirdness to go away.
It's well, somebody commented immediately after his loss or sent me a message. I think it was JJ in the Central Coast, and he was like, "Don't give him any wild cards." Like he wasn't even trying against Griff.
Yeah.
He put in minimal effort, and also even if he puts in maximum effort, he just can't hang with those type of surfers and those type of waves, and it's undignified for him to even try. So it's 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 time. It's
It's
time.
time. I mean, but the
But
problem is that you're talking about Kalani wanting him home. I'll tell you what, talking about detoxing from letting your body recover from alcohol, right? Kelly has been mainlining professional surfing for 40 some years.
yeah,
He is going to go bananas. He is going to
yeah.
lose. He's going to be like mood swings like crazy, right? He's going to go home and just like be pacing around the room like a caged animal. Baby's going to cry. He's going to snap. Like he's going to go nuts. He is going to go insane.
The monotony and tedium of raising an infant at home and the weird hours that you have to operate and all that, he will get the bends.
He,
Like it is the
he
exact opposite of traveling the world with all the adulation that comes with that.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, he is going to be straight up bent. You are exactly right. And then what's he going to do? Let's be honest, Kelly Slater is a terrible businessman. The projects that he has set into play, I think only work in spite of him, not because him. Like I think Outer Known is ticking along now because, they make like stinking I got a pair of Outer Known pants, if you can believe it. David Lee Scales got a
I
pair of
can believe
Outer
it.
Known pants, and I put them on, and and I wore them, and I thought, and then the next day I put them on too, and thought, and then I keep putting them on. I wear my Outer Known pants. It's a good product.
I
The
think we
wife,
stated, I think we
what?
stated on air already. We revealed on air already that they did send us
Oh yeah,
products.
we
So
got a
that's how,
box.
yeah.
I got a
So thank
pair
you,
of,
Otter now.
but then yeah, like so the wife saw him out of the box, like like old man pants, basically, right? But then she saw me in them, and she's like, "What are those?" And I was like, "These are my Outer Known pants." And then she was wondering, it was washing time. She was wondering if they could be washed. I said, "I think so. They're just Outer Known pants. I'm not gonna stinking take my Outer Known pants to the damn dry cleaners."
Yes.
But so she was looking at the label, and she was like, "Huh." I heard her from the laundry room say, "Huh, 100% organic cotton." Like that. And I was like, yeah, it's Outer Known pants. But anyway, I'm gonna say Outer Known is a good product in spite of Kelly, not
Yeah.
because Kelly. Kelly is a crappy businessman. So if he's going to take he's gonna get home, get the Benz, think, I need something to do. I need something to do. He's gonna start another stinking turtle moon. Like it's gonna be weird, whatever it is.
Webbed gloves. He's
Yeah.
gonna he's gonna fully bite our idea and beat John to the punch with the webbed gloves.
We gotta
Because
do it.
he's competitive that way too.
Yeah,
That's the
I know.
exact thing.
We gotta
Yeah,
beat Kelly to web gloves quick.
we do.
I'm calling China
Um,
stat.
so my prediction is we will see him 1 month from 3 days from now. I think it starts May 22nd.
He said he's going to Snapper. We will see him then.
So we'll see
If
him
you watch
then, and then we'll
Snapper.
see him back on the CT in Tahiti. I'm going to make a bold claim and say he's going to make the quarterfinals in Tahiti at the very next event
I mean,
because he's going to come in super hot off of everybody's forced retirement. And that's a wave, obviously, that he thrives at. So I'm calling
do
quarterfinals finish.
do you think he likes it? Like, do you think? I mean, because it would be like, I think we've all thought of this before of attending your own funeral. Like, like, would it be a good turnout? What would people like? What would people say? Kelly right now is attending his own funeral. He is walking around the room, getting, and it's got to feel good, right? Which is maybe the secret, I guess, to him. Maybe why he's retired 26 times thus far is because he really likes going to his own funeral.
Ultimate narcissist move right there.
I
Next thing, he's going to fake his own death.
mean, that's what I said in my latest vlog was that's the only thing that can like
Really?
beat this. Yeah, the only thing that he can do to beat this last retirement fake out is a false death.
Yeah, I like it.
Yep.
I see it coming. Very talented Mr. Ripley of him.
Yep.
Are you watching the new Ripley series on Netflix?
No, I had a friend watch it and say it is such utter nonsense that compared to the first one, like
Hmm.
where inexplicably black and white, but I think he said there is what made the first one so good was it was a very specific time and place. It was post-war Europe when American expats were going over there, rich American expats, right? And they're sexy and they're young. He said this one makes no sense because there's no reason for any of this to be happening and everybody's old.
Wow. That's a take. I totally disagree. I thought this was superior to the film and loved every minute of it.
Okay, I'm gonna have to dig in now and see.
Give it a shot. I mean, look, it's very much about the visuals. It's actually feels like you're watching a book. Like it's much more, it's slower paced. There's much more packed into the storyline because it's 8 hours long. I think it's 8 episodes and they're an hour each. So they cover a lot more, but it's slower paced and but the visuals are so hypnotic that it kept me fully engaged the entire time.
But it was like I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but the young kind of sensuality of Jude Law and Gwyneth and Matt Damon in the Italian Riviera, like it was all evocative of an actual place, an actual time, actual things that probably happened. Whereas old people, where are they? Are they still in Italy or are they?
Yeah,
Yeah, but like
same
what? Is it post?
locations.
Is it post-war?
Same location, same time, same everything. It's still based on the book, so it's using that as a reference. And I agree with you. The direction is not to be sensual at all. Like it's eroded or erased all of that stylized version of the storytelling. but the replacement is Italy as a
Okay.
character and kind of I don't know what you would call it. The aesthetic of the people, their clothing and all of that is just like wealthy American from that era where it's like subtle and clean and neat, but they're not sexy human beings necessarily.
I'm hearing some San Pellegrino in
Very
your
much,
description.
very much.
Okay,
Yeah, but I liked it a lot. I think you would like it.
great.
Okay, well, moving on. Oh, first of all, while we're on the subject of Margaret River, did you make the Survival League?
Sure did. I rode Jack Robinson through.
That's right.
I've been burned before on like picking the surfer at the event, like the one who should win, right? I think last year I was put out at wherever with John, somewhere where John should have won, or not won, or probably won too, but definitely got out of the round of 32. So I was had some trepidation that I was going swinging too high with Jack, but made it through.
Good. Who did he beat?
Oh, I can't even remember. It's
Yeah,
so
me
funny
neither.
how survival though. I care so much less about the back end than the front end because I don't actually care at all who wins the event. Like I legit like I was trying to watch Medina Florence yesterday, like thinking, okay, this is like these are our two greatest competitive surfers at the moment. Obviously the waves were crap, but this should be even in crap waves. This is like a superheat. I was like, I don't care. If this was the round of
Got
32
it.
and I had Florence in my thing, then I'd be
Yeah,
fully engaged. But as it is, I'm like, if Medina wins, cool. If Florence wins, cool. I literally don't care.
totally inconsequential. I did not watch either. And for those exact reasons, I was like, looking at the conditions and what the waves looked like, I'm like, even if they both get tens in their heat, it's not exciting. Like, it's not going to be a highlight. It's not a highlight in any other context other than this event. So,
The weirdness of, I mean, we've beat it to death on this program, but the weirdness of bad waves, like where, and it's not even worth talking about. I'll talk about it anyway quickly. Like Gabriel Medina got an 8.5 or something on not against John, against whoever he was serving against earlier for like or maybe whoever it was, might have been John, but it was like, I don't know, two like hacks on a shoulder high wave and it's an
yeah,
8.5. When you look at numbers like that related to something that's absurd, they should just like flatten the scale. That's a 4 point ride, right? Call it a
yeah.
four, and you can win with a 7.6 heat total.
Yeah, I pull up Instagram and then I see like, oh, George Pitar, is making a run and he got an 8.5. And I watch the 8.5 on Instagram
I'm
and
like, what?
it's exactly what you just said. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, good thing I wasn't watching this live. Good thing I
Yeah.
didn't take time away from my family or Ripley on Netflix to watch this live.
They're
Even
like
on my phone, like yesterday I was grilling those steaks and I put it on my phone and propped it up so that I could engage with the family and still cook and all that kind of stuff. And then I was like, I'd rather have access to my phone. I would
yeah.
rather be able to check text messages if they happen to come through.
Yeah.
So I turned it off my phone that was on silence and propped up against the wall out of view. That's how
You
little I care.
you turned it off for a potential text message, not one that you were waiting for. Just
No,
if one happened, if one
just want
just
to catch
happened
my
along.
notifications. So that's where we're at. Anyways, uh, tools to live by, presented by Veyer Watches. Of course, Veyer was rocking all the way through El Salvador.
Of course it was. You knew what time it was. You were sitting there on the plane when the time was changing. Your phone
Mhm.
was on airplane mode, so it didn't know the time was changing. But guess who knew? Your Veyor watch.
They even sent a bonus watch down for me to give to Nick Timponi because I was interviewing him for Surf Splendor.
Sweet. How
So
thrilled was Nick to get his Veyor watch?
he was psyched.
I'm
So
telling you,
you
giving
will
a
be
watch. Yeah, giving a watch is like the coolest thing ever. I mean, it's a manly thing. It's a cool thing. It's a timeless thing. It is all the things.
they do the Timponis, by the way, if you don't already know, do the coolest board building videos on Instagram.
I follow him now.
Nick's done a phenomenal job of like I mean, he and I had conversations years ago about like, is it worth investing in Instagram? Like the amount of time it takes to like, when you're laminating a surfboard, you're under a time crunch, because Catalyst is catalyzing. resin is catalyzing. And so you it takes time to pull out your phone and to document it all, and then editing the thing, because it takes hours and hours to do the board build. Editing that down into 90 seconds is it just
Painful.
time consuming. And so, is it worth it or not to do it? Well, he's invested in it. He's gotten really good at it as an editor and a filmer. And the boards, of course, that they're doing are incredible. And so, being able to document that and showcase it with the world, they've amassed a 150,000 Instagram following through doing it. And they're
Boom.
only growing from here. Like, it's incredible what they've done with it. So,
The Timponis and the Kardashians.
exactly, together again. And you'll see that Vayer watch in those Instagram videos, I'm sure, from now on. So,
Very smart of Air.
very smart of Vayer, VAER. Oh, we have a landing page where listeners can save 15%. It's Vayer Watches / Surf Splendor. Listeners send us inquiries. They need tools to live by. So here we go. Hey, David and Chaz, I'm writing into the grit with a question that has been nagging at me for some time. I grew up away from the water in landlocked Pennsylvania and didn't arrive on the West Coast until I was deep into my 20s in the year 2000, when I rode the dot-com bubble to San Francisco. My move was motivated primarily by a yearning to start over on my own terms, away from everything that had shaped me up until that point. And to that end, I quickly became new friends and discovered new pastimes that both felt more authentic than anything that I had left behind back east. The proximity to such incredible natural beauty was one of the things I came to appreciate the most about my new home, and I gradually find more and more opportunities to explore it. There were occasional trips to Tahoe, but skiing wasn't really my thing. Mountain biking became an obsession for several years, but as my circle of friends somehow began to include more and more surfers, the inevitable draw to the ocean became irresistible. I'd known a lot of people who'd said they'd surfed, but they only ever really dabbled. They'd eventually tire of the cold water, the long drives to the beach, the ever present fear of sharks. They'd get injured, get beat down by a wave, and get denied on the paddle out one too many times. Or maybe they just got too busy with work or a girlfriend or partying or whatever. I probably came close once or twice myself for all of those reasons, but thankfully, the memory of a recent wave or my new group of surf obsessed friends were always there to pull me back to the ocean. By 20, or by 2007 or 2008, I had rearranged my life primarily around surfing, foregoing any sort of full-time office job in favor of freelance work so that I'd be free to surf when and where I wanted to. I graduated from my training grounds of Bolinas and Pacifica and was regularly surfing OB when it wasn't huge. I'd been on countless international surf trips, mostly to Mexico, Costa Rica, but also exploring Bali, Brazil, Sri Lanka. I relocated to SoCal several years ago, in part because the surf here was more accessible and inviting. I considered myself a competent, respectful surfer. And while being a dad of two young girls doesn't allow me to surf as much as I once did, I still get out fairly regularly. I get the occasional good wave and even sometimes a compliment. I'm not throwing buckets of spray. I mostly let the wave do the work, but on a good day, I may make a steep drop or a fast section, maybe put in one or two well-timed and graceful looking, though not exceptionally radical turns. At age 50, my best days are probably behind me, and I'm content to have plateaued at intermediate hood. However, I have one confession. I have never been properly barreled. Sure, I've pulled into a closeout only to punch through the back of the wave. I recently watched as a bit of spray chandeliered over my head and shoulders, but I've never intentionally pulled into a tube, had any sort of vision, or made my way out. So my question to you is, am I a kook? In other words, is getting barreled a prerequisite for graduating kookdom, or can I continue to call myself an intermediate surfer? Work, Rob.
Tough one. David Lee Scales. This is a tough one.
This is a
Th-
bizarre one too. Like,
this is as tough as it gets, I think, right here. We have reached peak toughness, but thankfully, you and I are here. I'm gonna say our dear listener just has to make this right. You don't have to be a barrel hound. You don't have to be a like, oh, I've spent so much time in the green room that basically moved in, right? But Just go find that wave that's barreling and sort it out.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure he's tried that before. You know
Maybe
what I
not.
mean?
Maybe he doesn't care.
I mean, he's writing into a podcast to discuss it. I think he does care. I think he's confronted by this. I think, like, look, I don't think he's actually concerned that he's a kook. I think, again, he came up with a question that he could kind of phrase this around, but I think that this is inner turmoil for him. The fact that he's never been barreled. I never considered this up until I read this guy's email that you could exist that long as a surfer and not get barreled because I just figure the amount of hours put in, opportunities present themselves, you know? Um, I mean, the idea, he said he's never even had the vision.
For
Never
sure he
having the
has.
vision? That's shocking to me.
For sure, though, he's been in a closeout looking out, right?
He said he's gotten into closeouts, but pulled out the back. I mean, when I've pulled into closeouts, you pack them straight. So you do get that vision, you know, before you don't pull out the back.
Okay, so do we need, I mean, this would be a calling, we need it like a Brad Gerlach like Batman beacon that goes into the sky. And then we call Brad Gerlach because I Brad could get this guy. I bet this guy's is his name Rob?
Yeah, Rob.
So I bet Rob, you go like having never been barreled, and I'll know, speaking of myself, right? I am no like barrel chaser. I don't go into the water, even when it's barreling. Like I'm so preconditioned to surf a wave a certain way, right? Like even if you can get a barrel, sometimes you're just, oh man, I wasn't thinking about a barrel, right?
Mhm.
Like you need I think the Brad Gerlach, okay, this is what you do. Maybe Rob just doesn't know how to get barreled.
I mean, you just stand there, really. I mean, you need a wave that's barreling, first of all.
You need a
But
wave that's barreling, but you need to like
at
you need to
his level of
look
competence,
like a certain way where I think the barrel is a dizzying place to be, right? Like I've been in barrels before where you just lose, you should just everything should be you follow your board out, right? Everything is fine. But I'll get like kerflummoxed and realize, oh, I'm like now hugging the wall of the wave, and now here I go over the falls.
look, there's all the different styles of barrels. You know what I mean? Like there's um tiny almondy ones that you need to like get up high and contort into a weird position, or then there's bottomed out ones where you need to kind of make sure you don't get sucked up the face, so you're pointing your board more at the beach. And then there's just super easy ones that, I mean, I can remember one in Huntington on a just regular A-frame morning, like probably a fall morning, that it was just you couldn't surf it wrong. I just got up. It was clearly barreling. There was only one option. You just hug the wall. Thing barreled gently and easily, and I came out as simply as possible. Like you could have been a beginner surfer and gotten that thing. So, I, to answer his question, first of all, because he did pose it as a question, am I a kook? You're definitely not a kook. I
No,
don't think a barrel is the defining factor whether you're a kook or not.
no, it can't be
It,
that
it
simple.
it would be an interesting exercise for you and I to define what a kook is, but I think we could do that at a later date. The more interesting exercise here is to figure out how to get this guy barreled. Like
Yeah,
level of competency indicates that he can absolutely get barreled if the waves are barreling.
yeah.
And so how do we get this guy into a barrel?
That's why I want
And
to flash my Brad Gerlach
I mean, I
signal.
like that. That's a definitely a good start, although it might be impractical. The other problem this runs into is what we've stated in the past about setting too high of an expectation. Because if I go, hey man, book a trip to Colorado's in Nicaragua where it's barreling all day, every day. It's like once you set the intention, I'm going to get barreled, you're almost guaranteed to underfulfill your expectations.
Completely, especially if you're going to go like, quote, get barreled, right? Like
Yeah,
get a
yeah,
proper barrel but there is waves up and down. He says he's relocated to Southern California. There's waves up and down that barrel, right? That's not great
yeah.
barrels, but like Huntington, you're exactly right. Those days, those whatever direction it is where it hits the sandbars, right? And there's barrels up and down, right? Where go do a little barrel hunting in your own backyard, friend. Just like at the beach break at there ain't no, I don't think that I can think of like real barely point breaks here in Southern California that are like consistently just going off, right? But
Yeah.
there's most of these are beach breaks that I'm thinking of in my mind
Yeah.
of like the beachy where the sandbar has filled in And there's a way, just go and just quietly you can tick this box, no problem. Just go tick the box.
I mean, I feel like it's an easy problem, a relatively easy problem to solve for somebody at that level of competency in Southern California. Like there's plenty of opportunities around. What I will suggest to him is this is what you want something to chase, basically. In surfing, like the idea that you're never perfecting it is what keeps you coming back and trying to improve constantly. And I think that's a super healthy thing. It can get unhealthy in the example of Kelly Slater, where
Mm.
you've achieved well more than you ever set out to achieve, and you broke records that we never knew could be broken, like beyond all sports, just outside of the surfing world. Like you've broken every record. It is okay to hang your hat and go spend time with the family at this point. The type of chasing he's doing is unhealthy. The type of opportunity that Rob has as a 50-year-old with two kids of here's a very achievable goal, getting barreled somewhere in Southern California at your level of competency. It's encouragement to get up tomorrow morning before the sun comes up, pack your
No,
car,
no.
and go down to the beach.
It makes me want to do that, to be honest. It makes me think, "Oh, I'm gonna go get barreled tomorrow. I'm gonna figure out how to go get a little barrel tomorrow." That's like a fun little it's like a little white goldfish.
It is.
It's not your white whale.
Well, and I will second what you're saying about sending the bad signal to Gerlach. Just go to wavekey.com and set
Exactly.
up a subscription, because those fundamentals that he gives you will put you in a position to where if you're a regular footer and a left is coming your way and it's wedging up, it'll allow you the knowing how to contort your body to take off on that wave and to get barreled rather than
Punch through the back.
or getting to your feet and making the drop. And as you're bottom turning, realizing the waves barreling behind you. And if you had been more prepared, you could have slinked into that thing, pig dog
Yep,
stance
yep,
and got blown out with it because that was your
yep.
one opportunity. So,
Wave
um,
key.
w- preparation is, I think, key in helping this guy succeed when the opportunity presents
But
itself.
but what a great this is like, when you look back and think, man, if I could go experience for the first time again, how great would that would be, right? Like this guy is in Rob is in an enviable position to go on this barrel journey at 50. He will fully appreciate it. And those who have been barreled before him will look back and say, I remember my first. Wish I could go back and do it again. But you can't. You only get one first, right?
I
Rob
can't,
has
yeah,
saved this deliciousness for the end. He has saved his dessert as he was supposed to. Everybody else got up, started eating dessert first, ate the dessert right in the middle. Rob saved it for the end.
he
Bravo.
did. And I don't even remember my first barrel, and
Yeah.
that is a shame. And he will forever remember it because
Yep.
he's doing it later in life.
That's what I'm saying. Rob may be the wisest surfer of all, not a kook.
Maybe.
Wise.
Definitely not a kook, Rob. All right, VayerWatches.com/surf splendor. Thank you very much, Vayer, for supporting us in this endeavor. I've got a kook and Curran that kind of relates to everything that we're talking about to a certain degree. Hey, David and Chaz, I was surfing the other day and saw maybe a kook and Curran, but it could be just a barrel or not. I watched a guy struggle for 10 to 15 minutes to make it out to the peak. Once he got out, he immediately paddled for the first ripple that came through. He got into the wave late and went headfirst over the falls. I think he got washed all the way in because he was never able to come. I never saw him back out in the lineup. On the flip side, that same session, it was just before dark, and I was about to catch a wave in, and I saw a guy jogging over the dunes, getting ready to paddle out. It turned out to be Ben Bourgeois, who caught the best wave of the evening all the way to the sand right before dark. So, single wave sessions. Is it a kook and current? I feel like most average surfers are going to catch at least 2 to 3 waves before calling it, but kooks and the top level surfers call it one and done. Keep work, Austin.
Austin, thank you so much. It's been a while since we've had an actual real one that stuck. I am 100% backing this to go into the annals of Kook and Curran. Totally true. Nobody, like, the only one wave sessions I've had were accidental straight Kook, where it's like exactly in his point, you like fight really hard to get out in the lineup, and then you get one, and whether or not you tumble or whatever, I don't think I've ever had one of these where I wiped out and went in, but like where you just ride the wave wrong, like you straighten out and you look back over your shoulder and realize it's going to be such a headache to get back out there that you point it back in, which you're a full kook, and that when you're doing it, you yourself are a kook, right? The only people who do this on purpose is Ben Bourgeois or kooks.
Yeah, I kind of agree with it. I can't think of an average surfer who pulls a one wave session.
Unless you're fully kooking that session. If you are the definition of a kook in that session.
Well, this also ties in with the greater theme of the show, which is knowing when you've had your fill.
Yeah.
Like Ben Bourgeois is like, I ripped that wave. Like that was I surfed that wave from the outside to the inside. It I don't need any more. Like this is walking up to a buffet, but knowing I'm not that hungry.
I
I don't
want one
need to.
crab leg.
Yeah, one crab leg would be perfect right now. I will be satiated. I'll feel better after the fact. I'll have my sustenance. That's all I need, you know? And so that is a current move in and of itself, just having the actualization to know what you need, what your needs are, satiate your needs, and move on with your life.
Well, and here, I'm glad that we gifted our dear listeners the secret at the beginning of the show that surfing is not, in fact, workout. So you staying out there, it's not like, oh, I got to get my fitness in, man. I got to get my steps in. Got to get my, like, I mean, our dear buddy, I'm glad that he's tracking his 2 miles of paddling every session, but buddy, that's not doing nothing for you, man. But
Yeah.
so all to say though, Ben knows that surfing's not a workout. Ben knows that he's not going to get a little bit more fit by taking, okay, I got one, but now it's time to get my work. No, it's not a workout. Get your
Yeah.
one wave, get out.
I guess it's official. Kook and Curran one wave session.
Perfect. We needed one.
The times that I've kooked it in the kind of way that you're talking about was I can't get a wave off the crowd or I'm
Yeah,
constantly out of position. You know, it's like I paddle out and
that
it's
too.
like I have an hour to
That's happened to
surf.
me. Yep.
I have an hour to surf and I think I'm going to get 10 waves in that hour. And I'm literally sitting for 45 minutes just freaking pissed,
It's one of the
like
most
losing my mind.
it's one of the most frustrating things, like where it will almost, it's probably as close as I've been to actual insanity. Like scratching up against real insanity on a fun day at the local, like where it's all the things that it's a fun day. It's not like a hectic day. It's a fun day. Waves are kind of pumping ish, fun. Everyone around you is surfing. The girl who stinks is catching 3 or 4 waves. The old local guy, everyone. It's not just like, the crew is catching waves and you are the only one in that lineup who cannot, for whatever reason, get a wave.
And it just compounds. It
It's
gets
just
worse
like,
because you have your spot and then you give way. You're like, oh no, they're catching waves over there. So you move over there and then the wave comes right in your spot. And you're like, gosh, dang it.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
you're like, no, on the inside, guys are staying busy. Okay, I'm going to move to the inside. But then a set comes and you're like, so you scrap out. It's just once you start chasing your tail moves in hyper speed and
But
there's no catching it.
there's also the exact equivalent or flip side of that, which is equally where you're like, I'm not going to chase my tail today. I paddled out here. I saw a wave here. I am sitting here, and no wave ever breaks there again. You are
Yeah,
sitting there for 40, 45, 50. And then, of course, the inevitable is I'll just catch one on the inside. Those guys are staying busy. I saw this guy looking like he was having fun. You go eventually catch one on the inside, uh, you go straight on that wave. Like you never like get that one on the inside. Say, yes, fine. I was waiting for so fun.
yeah,
No, it's like an annoying conveyor to the sand. That's all you got is like
totally.
help in.
And by the way, the the other detail of like knowing when your fill is I would get like I said earlier, my quote is kind of three waves. So in El Salvador specifically, it's like, okay, paddling out, I don't need to like get 10 waves a session because we've got 3 sessions a day for 7 days, let's say. So I'm gonna get plenty of waves throughout this trip. So let's just pace ourselves, right? Inevitably, I'd get my 3 set waves even. I still want four.
Yeah, of
I know
course.
what my quota is. I know I'm sated at that point, but I still decide to paddle in or go in after the third wave, and I look over my shoulder and there's a set on the horizon, there is that ego thing that is like, go
Give
back
me
out
one
and
more.
get more. Oh, look at that guy got four. You didn't get four. That guy got four. You should
I
go
mean,
get what that guy got, you know?
I mean, it's specifically though the addiction of surfing is the most real that way. You can have the wave of your life
You need another.
and you need another. Just like it could be the best wave you've ever had in your life. And it's not like, oh, I'm gonna go beat that. This next wave is gonna be better even. No, it's just like, oh yeah, I'm just a straight crackhead.
I think that's where the current move, that's why it's a current move to do is Ben Bourgeois knows he'll be back tomorrow and he's
Yeah.
going to get a set wave tomorrow. And so there's no need to
Zero
force it right
pressure.
now.
Zero
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah. There's a knowing of your own competency and a confidence that comes with that. So, all
Good
right. Well,
concurrent. Thank you.
excellent. We're adding it to the archives.
Yep.
I'll put it in my notes. All right, Chaz, let's go to commercial break and then we will be back with a follow up thought from last week that we did not spend nearly enough time on, and then barrel or not. Rocketmoney.com/surf. Just this week, my wife figured out she was paying a subscription for Showtime, but then also paying for Paramount Plus, which includes Showtime for free. That's precisely what Rocket Money was designed for. A modern tool that meticulously tracks the details that we easily get distracted from. It's a finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your monthly spending, and helps you lower your bills. It gives you freedom by helping you see your subscriptions in a simple dashboard and alerts you about hidden fees or increases. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has helped save its members an average of $720 a year with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. Stop wasting money on things that you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/surf. Calm the clutter in your head, simplify the tedium of your financial life, and find freedom through rocketmoney.com/surf. Chaz, welcome back.
So
Last
good.
last week we got totally distracted. You threw a gauntlet of just this ripe topic that we could have spent a full episode on, and then we got distracted and went a totally different way, but I'm bringing it back to you right now.
Let's go.
Quote, which lifestyle is more difficult to maintain, swinging or surfing?
Yeah, it's a good question, right?
Question for the ages.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like they're really neck and neck. I mean, you can't just be a surfer. Nobody here, right? Who, nobody listening to a surf podcast is just doing this casually. You're, we're in the lifestyle. We
Totally.
are part of the lifestyle. We wake up and think about surfing at some point in the day. We watch surf things. We interact with surf people. We listen to surf things. We go to bed, surf somewhere in the back of the mind. I feel the same as if you're a swinger, you don't wake up and just think like, I'm gonna have meatloaf later and then go to bed. You think, man, I'm gonna get with my buddy's wife tonight or what, like whatever the thing is, but it like defines your swinging defines your life. Which one is more exhausting?
So when you're a skater,
Yeah.
every ledge that you see,
Yep.
you're envisioning how do I grind that or whatever it is. When you're a swinger, every person of, I don't know, the opposite sex, maybe the same sex, depending on what you're into, is a potential opportunity.
I mean,
And
you
that feels
exhausting.
exhausting to me.
Out to lunch, and I'm sure, like, you hear that swingers have like, I mean, this is all probably just folklore. But they have like a pin or something that what is it? Like there was an
I'm not
upside
sure.
down something. There was something that I can't remember. Like some kind of pin or brooch or something that when worn, oh, it was an upside down pineapple. That's what it was.
I was
Ben
gonna, I
Ben
was gonna
Gravy.
guess eggplant.
Ben Gravy is a straight, I think we even discussed on air Ben Gravy's pineapple, and he kind of looks a little swingy. Ben Gravy does have swing vibes, and
Mm.
he just needed to finally get married. So now, and lo and behold, look what happens when he gets married. Isn't he married? Yeah, he's married. Ben Gravy goes and breaks his arm, or he's out of the water along. I mean, so I'm not saying Ben Gravy is a swinger. I'm just saying he probably is a swinger. But I'm also saying that swinging life at every restaurant, looking around. Oh, I see that person wearing their pineapple.
Well, he's the exact person we need to ask to define whether which lifestyle is harder to maintain.
he does both.
Yeah, exactly. So I see him transitioning from YouTube content to OnlyFans content in the coming years.
It's
Um,
great.
so I am fascinated by swingers, and like if there's ever a documentary about swingers, I'm watching it. If there's any like article on Instagram that pops up, I'm gonna, Vice doing an expose. I'm like definitely clicking and learning about that
I went to a
because
swinger hotel, dot, dot, dot. Click.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It's fascinating to me because um I I can't imagine like first of all, I want listeners to actually chime in to set the record straight if there are any swingers in our listener community. I'm sure there are
Yeah.
actually. Um, Please chime in and give me a low rundown on
The
maybe just a
lifestyle.
thumbs up. Yes, it's a great lifestyle, or turns out it's not all that it was cracked up to be. But where it lands for me is I can't relate to it. The chase, like the constant anxiety of not settling down and like needing to chase and find out if the grass is always greener. Maybe that's my own perception of what that lifestyle is, and maybe it's not that at all. But the idea of just not being able to like we said, get the three waves and then relax with those three waves and know that you did what you did and you can now just relax. I don't need to go eat more. I don't need to go add anymore. I'm just sated and I can
The
relax. It feels
so
anxious to me.
we do 100% need our swinging listener to and or swinging listeners to maybe there's enough swinging listeners that we can do a grit swinging vacation down to El Salvador
A
where
swing and surf trip.
but the way so I've actually seen this play out in the wild. It's always funny when you're have you ever been at a party, let's say, and a friend pointed out this group, this gaggle over here, they swing. Have you, has that ever happened to you?
I've even gotten closer than that. I've had a group of friends. We found out one of the couples is absolutely into that, and that couple made overtures.
Okay, so great. Then how did that long term, how did that play out for that couple? Are they still together? Are they still happy?
Divorced.
Exactly. I've never seen it, and I've only ever seen like so in this time that I was in a swinging group, I was observant. It was pointed out, right? I was observant of their interact. It seemed you could cut the tension with a knife. Like on the surface, it was all happy, happy, but you could tell, okay, this guy is getting aced out. She likes or his girl likes this guy way better because this guy clearly is better. He's fitter, he's everything. This guy's on the outs. Like there, it seems like it's like high school, like meanness, really pushed down subtly, but with obviously higher stakes.
Yeah. Nothing about it appeals to me, to be
No,
perfectly honest.
no.
Like
I
that,
mean, I don't get the idea of sharing. I mean, there's something essential I feel about whether it's, I don't know, cavemanish or whatever, but you want what's yours, right? And then taking what's yours, your wife, and say, hey, you have it too. It's like, I don't get it. And I
I,
want yours too.
yeah, yeah, there's something very, yeah, I just don't get it at all. I understand the impulse to want to spread your seed and to want to try, different partners and all of that. But there is a time in life that you can absolutely pursue that and do all of that you want. But once you have, a committed, let's say wanting to raise kids or some sort of shared interest or, a home together, or whatever it is, like once you define that, then it becomes very much about protecting the resource to me.
But this swing group had there was kids amongst them, like, and I know all of those kids are for sure going to be messed up. Like every part of it seems fully messed up. And if but trying to normalize it is the weird thing to me. If you just say, if all swingers just said we are messed up, and again, swingers listeners chime in. But to me, it's messed up. And then they're trying to normalize it and be like, no, no, this is healthy. This is, you guys are stuck in your, this is polyamory, baby. I got enough love in my heart for lots of folk, right? You and your outdated ways of just needing one. Ugh, look at you. Uh, all of this, like, just say, no, man, I got an evil addiction here, and it's going to destroy not only my personal relationships, going to destroy my children, going to destroy everything I touch. But I can't help it. I want to sleep with your wife too.
I used to listen to Dr. Drew when he had Loveline way, 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 way
Yeah.
back in the day. I think he still has podcasts and stuff. I just haven't listened for a decade plus. But he would always say, he'd be like, do you? However, I've never met a couple over a long period of time where this worked out, or
Yeah.
this was a healthy thing for their relationship.
Yeah.
So he's like, I could be wrong, and maybe it's a, not all of the stats are in, and not all of it is, every angle has been studied and every variable accounted for. But from what I have seen, it is not healthy for a relationship. So I'm curious to hear from listeners if there is
A healthy swinging. But
healthy
back
swinging. And
but back to the original question, which is more exhausting?
yeah, great
Is
question.
being a surfer or being a swinger more exhausting? Which again, I guess we have to wait for Ben Gravy to call in and or a swinging surfing listener.
The I think common denominator here is what we've been highlighting all episode, which is just knowing when enough is enough. Like as a surfer, if you wake up and you're checking the forecast every day, even days that you can't go surfing, and then you feel anxiety all day knowing that you're missing out, like that's not healthy. And
No.
it's a difficult lifestyle to maintain if you're doing it that way. And if you're a swinger and you just had group sex last night, you wake up in the morning and you go to the grocery store and you're like, look at that chick in yoga pants. That's also not the very healthy lifestyle to maintain. You're going to carry a lot of anxiety
Yep.
along with your boner. All right. Well, hey, let's move on to barrel or not. I'm sure we could do a lot longer on that topic, but barrel or not, coming off of last week's red wine and Coke conversation, ketchup on eggs.
Oh, such a hand dragging on the roof, straight out of retirement, straight into Chopu barrel.
What?
Big barrel,
Oh,
huge barrel.
no.
I'll double down. I'll go so much ketchup on my eggs, and then I'll put Cholula on top of that.
Wow.
Yeah,
I could
I'll
not
dump
disagree
that.
more.
I will do like barely cannot eat eggs unless they're smothered in ketchup, drowned in ketchup.
You
The
are a
ketchup egg ratio
child.
is like 50-50. Yep.
So, what style of eggs are you talking?
Any style. Like I'll scramble an egg and obviously throw ketchup on there. I will a sunny side up, ketchup on. I will easy over, ketchup on. The only style of ketchup or only style of egg I don't ketchup is a hard boiled egg or soft
Wow.
boiled egg. Any other
Wow.
egg, I'll stinking put ketchup on a eggs Benedict that already has hollandaise on it.
Gross. I could
Delicious.
not disagree with you more ardently.
I
And the only caveat I will give you is an egg sandwich.
oh
But
yeah.
even that egg sandwich shouldn't need ketchup if it's properly done. Like if there's an aioli on it and some vegetables or whatever, like that should exist on its own. But if it were like a really basic ham and egg on toast, I could go with ketchup on that and hot sauce, but that's it.
I will go ham, egg, cheese, English muffin, and then on the side, I pour a lot of ketchup, and then into that, I dump a lot of mayonnaise. Then I mix it up, and then I dip that sandwich right in there.
Mayo on an egg sandwich is fantastic, but if I have breakfast potatoes on the plate and there's ketchup goes with those potatoes and ketchup happens to touch the eggs, I will not argue with that combination of things, but the ketchup is for the potatoes in that scenario.
You take the bottle and you squirt ketchup over the whole, you cover the plate in ketchup. You're happier.
So ketchup has very, very few applications in my life. And there's certain things that it's essential with. But the problem with the egg for me is that the egg yolk is actually the greatest sauce on the planet. Sauciers in the finest kitchens at Michelin restaurants in France who dedicate their lives to making sauces cannot beat an egg yolk. An egg yolk is incredibly versatile. You could put it on a burger, you could put it on so many things, and it adds a luxury and a depth of flavor that you cannot get in any other way. And it's natural. And so I think that like a poached egg is kind of the best version of an egg. And once you're scrambling, you've already kind of disintegrated the greatest part of the egg. And so if you're adding ketchup to that, then I guess, you know what? It's all a wash at that point. But if you're going to have an egg, it should be poached. You should be getting that yolk, and there's no way to improve upon the yolk. The ketchup is a complete disgrace at that point.
They dance. They are the ketchup and the yolk form a swinging partnership that you just can't beat elsewhere. The dance between them. You have the subtle like base flavor of the yolk with the spiky tang of a ketchup. Mm,
Too sweet, too much
so
sugar in
good.
ketchup. That's the
You
problem.
salt it. You salt it all real too. A lot of
Do
salt.
you have a preferred brand of ketchup?
Yes, I do even. I like Heinz Organic, the one
Yeah.
that because it's made with sugar instead of corn syrup.
So I made cocktail sauce the other day,
Hmm.
and I didn't have we generally have Heinz in the fridge, and we were out. And I was like, oh shoot, I usually have backups of everything. So I go into the cupboard to grab the backup, and the only backup I had was
Off-brand?
Trader Joe's
Yeah,
brand.
no. No, 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 no.
And so I know I don't like it like with French fries, the Trader
Yeah,
Joe's brand ketchup, because it's like a darker
it's weird.
tomatoey flavor.
It's weird.
However, I used it for the cocktail sauce. It was vastly superior cocktail sauce.
Sure, I'm sure that it's like I could see the Trader Joe's. I could see off-brand ketchups, and by off-brand, I don't mean generic. I mean not Heinz. I could see all of those being ingredients in something else.
Yeah.
As standalone, there's
Yeah.
one ketchup and it's Heinz.
As Hidden Valley is the standalone ranch and
Yep.
everything else falls short, Heinz is the best ketchup as a standalone. But I'm telling you, when you do a cocktail sauce, use the Trader
TJ's.
Joe's version.
Okay,
It was phenomenal.
good to know.
It's like really shocked by that.
Do you like your on a sliding scale from huge to minuscule? Where do you like the size of your shrimps?
On the larger size.
Really? Oh
I
man,
I
a
don't love
bay
a
shrimp.
coloss. I don't like, oh, really?
I love a bay shrimp. Bay shrimp is by far my favorite of all of the shrimps.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even in a cocktails, like if you would just,
Anything. A
wow.
cocktail, because you just like get a spoonful of bay shrimps and dip that into the cocktail sauce. Hmm.
I think are there good quality bay shrimp? Because I only think of it as being just like the Vienna sausage compared to a uh
Hot dog?
kielbasa.
Kielbasa? I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think that like properly in the East Coast where the bay shrimp makes its home, I think I mean, delicious. They're like lightly sweet.
Hmm. I'll have to revisit it. I don't think
Yeah.
I've encountered a good bay shrimp.
Revisit the bay.
Okay, will do. Add that to my list of things. All right, barrel or nah? Acupuncture.
I've never done, have I ever done? I must have done acupuncture. I'm going to say barrel. Anything that Chinese men with long Fu Manchu mustaches do must have validity.
All right. Well, I did my first session yesterday.
Do you feel anything
Yeah, it was kind of incredible.
like better?
Fantastic, actually.
Was it to solve a specific problem or just to do acupuncture?
It was not, it started, so we've been trying to have a kid for, let's say, 9 months, second kid, right? And so somebody in Lauren's life mentioned acupuncture as being like good for fertility, or they have like a way of doing it that's good for fertility. So she went and she had a phenomenal experience from like a relaxation and de-stressing standpoint. And so she recommended I went. She actually made an appointment for me to go. So I went, and so fertility is kind of because I guess there's a version for males that is good for fertility too. They can do certain things. But through the intake process, we addressed like stress levels, and I'd had some weird nerve pain in my arm and TMJ that I had been experiencing, grinding my teeth at night, kind of a thing. And so she addressed all of those things and explained, she did a really thorough job of explaining the science
That it's not just
behind
voodoo.
it. It's
Yeah.
not just voodoo. No, it's based in, I mean, they talk about there's meridians in your body and blah, 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 but the meridians are just nerve pathways, is what they're talking about, that are identified in Western science as well. But then there are differentiations in the way that they like organs, all the organs, they have a yin and a yang component. So like the liver is the yin and the gallbladder is the yang. And so they understand the functioning in the same way of the organs that Western medicine does, but they also have their own interpretation of what they mean in relation to one another. And they also have an association to emotions with them in the acupuncture practice, or I don't know if it how you would
Chinese
classify
medicine
it.
in general.
I think so. Yeah, I think you could take it broader like that. So kind of understanding that the organ has these emotional associations with it. And if you're feeling, let's say, stress or anger, then that is related to, I think the gallbladder. I don't know specifically, but I think that's what she was saying. And
Your
so,
bile.
yeah, and so we can kind of put needles in this part of the nervous system that are related to that organ, and then you will feel less stress or anxiety or whatever it is. And then ultimately, she put 26 needles in my body, and then I laid there for 45 minutes and had a pretty transformative experience. Like it was
Great to hear.
bizarrely, yeah, it was like bizarrely more relaxing than a massage would be.
Could you like theoretically function? I mean, could you and I go get acupuncture and then do a show while we're under the needle just to see if it's a much more quality show?
It would be, I think, detrimental to the experience of the acupuncture. Like you want to be present and dead silent and relaxing through it all.
Okay, but what about listening? Should people having acupuncture listen to our podcast while doing their acupuncture?
Also, probably no. I think those things should be separate. And even just like I got out of the appointment and Lauren was texting, like, hey, how did you like it? Blah, blah. I didn't even want to reply to her text message. I
Because
just
you were
wanted to
you were
like
in bliss.
in bliss, soak it in. I don't want to even mentally process the
You
experience
just wanted
yet.
to
I
feel the feels.
feel the feels.
I
So
like
then
it.
I
Okay.
jumped on the 405 and sat in traffic.
And just then I paddled out and didn't catch a wave at my local while everybody surfed around me.
But
Uh,
I'm advocating for it.
okay, I gotta figure out a reason to go get acupuncture.
I mean, general health and wellness, I think, is good enough of a reason, but I've got a second appointment scheduled. So I'm going to go back. I think there will be lasting. It'll be interesting to see how it lasts over the course of 2 weeks, and then over the course of multiple treatments to see what the long-term effects are. I don't think you should expect to see necessarily like a radical difference on day two, but I'll report back
Great.
as we continue the process of
Can't
treatment.
can't wait to hear.
And then the fertility thing, we'll see if there's results in that as well
Can't wait
over
to hear
time.
about that either.
Yeah, give you the full lowdown. Okay, final barrel or not related to, and also related to Kelly Slater and his confessional video with Surfline that we discussed last week. But barrel or not, ayahuasca.
Mm. Oh man, this is a tough one. I'm gonna say no barrel on this one. I'm gonna say usually like go adventure, go out there. This one seems like I'm gonna say if you are a Amazonian, if you grew up in the Amazon, if you're a Brazilian and your great grandfather grew up in the Amazon, you go have your ayahuasca. That stuff is meant for you. You, as a weird white dude from Europe somewhere, or in Kelly's case, from Syria, that thing has not been in any of your ancestral like bloodstream ever. And now you're just going to start introducing it because, like, no, I'm going to say there's certain things for certain people. Ayahuasca is for South Americans. Let them have it.
It, it's it's become trendy,
Yeah.
obviously. It's a big kind of I don't know, like I think of Venice, like kind of hippie enlightenment and wanting to experiment with these modern, I mean, they're not modern, ancient
Ancient
plant
modalities.
plant ceremonies, plant medicine ceremonies. And now there's places that obviously host retreats. They're essentially tourist ayahuasca experiences.
Kelly Slater's an investment partner in one, for pity's sake.
Yeah, exactly. He's on the board at Rhythmia in Costa
I think
Rica.
he invested too. I think that came out a while ago.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Like I understand the idea to want to have uh transformative experiences that address trauma from the youth and needing to, but it feels a bit extreme to me. Like I feel like there's a bunch of steps of therapy that I would need to take before I'm booking a flight to Costa Rica. And maybe somebody's trauma is so significant that you need extreme measures to address it and to get to the bottom of things. But I don't know. For me, it feels a little bit more scary than it feels worth.
And I'll say exactly to caveat on top of yours. Yes, if you like, I have no doubt that it is ayahuasca is clearly a thing and it, works wonders for some people. I have no doubt at all. Like people
Yeah.
need, but no, it's not everybody, man. It's like a tiny slice of the population actually needs that. For everybody to go in and start chiming on, I'd like to try it too. No, man, if you are like of European stock, there's things for you. It's called whiskey and beer and stuff like that. If you are of, what, like if you're of African stock, there's stuff for you. It's called, I don't even know what African, well, I'm sure there's some like good African something that you can really dig into. But for, unless you are South American, I'm going to say, don't mess with it. It's not for you.
It's you might unlock something you don't want to unlock. That's the
Yeah.
other thing is whoever talks about the repressed childhood trauma that you did not want to unpack. Like maybe it's repressed for a reason and you should never address it. Just move on with your life.
I mean, I'm going to just say, look at Kelly Slater if you really need a before and after. Do you want to be like post ayahuasca Kelly? I'm just wondering about does I mean maybe a lot of people would. I personally wouldn't want to be post ayahuasca Kelly Slater.
I've talked to people who have had great experiences with ayahuasca and are advocates of it. And so I'm open to that feedback as well. But for me personally, it feels like a bridge too far. Um, so I'm going to go with assess it on your own. For me personally, I'm going a no barrel on the experience. The
Yeah.
vomiting and the diarrhea in a group environment is already like a real no, hard no for me.
And also, and for those who like, you don't do that way. You go micro. If you're quote microdosing anything, you're not doing it. You're a tourist and get out of the room to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason why I bring it up is also like things become mainstream when they really should be fringe sometimes. Like
Yep.
there is a reason and there is something, like you said, the medicine works, like I'm convinced the
Yeah,
medicine
for
does
sure.
work.
No doubt.
But you also don't want to do chemotherapy unnecessarily. Like chemotherapy works, but you don't want to just go radiate if you have a cold. And so I'm putting ayahuasca in that where it's highly effective and there's people who have transformative experiences, but also
It should be
people
mainstream.
some people don't need transformative experiences. Some
Yeah.
people just need a little bit of therapy. They need betterhelp.com for a period of time for 3 months. And then they
Yep.
need to be done with that therapy. And so ayahuasca, while it's become trendy and Kelly Slater is, having important experiences for him, not necessarily for you.
If you heard about ayahuasca from a tastemaker, let's say, and you're
Yeah.
considering trying it, there's your first clue that is probably not for you. Like,
Yeah.
if you have like a personal shaman somehow that says, hey, man, see the trauma in your life, come walk with me the ayahuasca way, then maybe that could be something. But otherwise, if you learned about it from Joe Rogan, that's probably that's probably not really for you.
Maybe just schedule an acupuncture appointment.
Yeah.
Get you halfway there. All right. Well, hey, we've covered a lot of important details. Like I said, the theme of we're trying to get you to surf to 100, but also know your limits.
Yep.
You could surf one wave a day to 100. You don't need to surf. You don't need to go hard.
No, you don't need to have like multiple sessions per day at 100. You're good.
Exactly. So you can get there by keeping ketchup off your eggs.
I think ketchup is a wonderful source of free radicals or something,
Is it?
or it's antioxidants. That's what it is. A wonderful source of antioxidants. It's
Because
not
it's
even
tomatoes.
No, it's like the scientific thing. What happens to the tomato when it becomes the ketchup is what is it called? And scientists tell me that I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. It's ketchup is a fundamentally different thing than a tomato. So
It's
new
like
things happen.
that's like when they talk about the benefits of turmeric.
Yes.
It's only unlocked with black pepper.
Yeah.
Like you
Uh,
need to put, if
The
you're making
one and the other.
turmeric tea, you need to put the black pepper in, and then boom, becomes potion
what's
at
good
that
for you.
point.
Exactly. That's ketchup is magic. So spread that magic.
Okay, I'm going to go ingest some right now.
Yeah.
All right, Chaz, thank you very much. VayerWatches.com or VayerWatches.com/surf splendor. And then, of course, drinkag1.com/surf splendor. We didn't even discuss, but Tyler Wright just signed a deal with drinkag1.
If that's not a reason for you to not cancel, I mean, a drink. I mean, yes, great, good
Go
job.
Tyler. Go Tyler.
Go Tyler.
Here's my
Fans.
here's my predictions for this show. Kelly Slater shows up in Tahiti and makes the quarterfinals. Tyler Wright has her best year ever since getting on the drinkag1.com/surf program.
I'll say Tyler Wright is okay. Here's the thing about Tyler Wright, and this will be proof positive for everyone in the powers of drinkag1.com/surf. Tyler Wright has been a public health disaster. She likes to share her health disasters with the world, unlike anyone else. If these kind of health disasters go down, or if her health disasters all of a sudden, because I feel she's a disaster kind of person. So let's watch if the health disasters become relationship disasters or become professional disasters, or if they stop being health disasters, everyone on the world should sign up right now. Proof in the pudding. This is a bold gamble by our friends at drinkag1.com/surf.
I mean, she literally took a year or two, 2 years off tour because she had stomach problems.
Yeah.
So prebiotics, probiotics, if drinkag1.com/surf can rectify that situation, it could rectify yours. And it's got a 90-day money back guarantee. So why wouldn't you try?
I mean, it's a no-brainer.
drinkag1.com/surf. All right, Chaz, it's been a great show. BeachGrit.com @surfjournalist. Anything else?
That's it.
All right, man. I will see you next week.
Great.
Keep work.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.